Advanced Speaking and Pronunciation. Video 6, Linking. Part 1, Review. Stress and unstress. As we have seen throughout this video series, stress and unstress can affect the words of English, both at the syllable level and at the sentence level in similar ways. Stressed syllables will be clearer and easier to hear, just like stressed words. Unstressed syllables will be reduced in sound, just like unstressed words. In today's video, we will see that the patterns of stressed and unstressed syllables that we find in words can also occur at the sentence level as well, where stressed and unstressed words will often take on the same rhythmic characteristics. This is because we can often connect stressed and unstressed words in the same way that we connect stressed and unstressed syllables. This ability to connect is called linking. Part 2, Linking. Linking is a rhythmic feature of English that occurs when two or more words connect together to sound like one word with multiple syllables. Linking can often produce groups of words with a rhythmic pattern that will sound very similar to a single word with the same stress pattern and take the same amount of rhythmic time to say. Let's demonstrate with a couple of examples. So, as you see, we have one word on the left side and two words on the right side. First, let's identify the stressed syllables in the words on the left. Minute, sender, Willie. Now, let's identify the stressed word in the examples on the right. Notice that in each case, that will be the first word. Also, notice how the final consonant sound from the first word will link together with the second one. Now, we will use a slash mark to represent where the break for the syllable will occur, and an arc to represent how the sounds will connect. In addition, we will remove the disappearing H from two of our examples. So finally now, as we say the words again, notice how both sets of words take the same amount of time to say. As a rhythmic language, English does not pay attention to the number of words or even the length of words. It's more about the number of beats, both those stressed and unstressed syllables, that we see in terms of the patterns for both examples. So now notice how both examples from the left and the right almost sound identical. Minute, win it. Sender, sender. Willie, Willie. So again, notice how the consonant will link together with the sound that follows after it. So we will talk about this more in just a moment. Linking occurs in the following situations, where consonant links to vowel and vowel links to vowel. Let's take a look at each one. Consonant-vowel linking occurs when the consonant sound at the end of the previous word will essentially link to the vowel sound at the beginning of the next word. The consonant will often sound like it will go together with the next word. So again, in looking at the examples on the screen, we will use the slash mark to show how the consonant will go with the vowel sound at the beginning of the next word. Now let's say them together. It's easy. It's easy. Each hour. Each hour. You're in. You're in. And notice how the R will kind of stretch a little bit. When at. When at. Still on. Still on. And again, notice the L will stretch a little bit between the two. And finally, with us. With us. Another type of linking occurs when the vowel sound at the end of the previous word links together with a vowel sound at the beginning of the following word. One reason this occurs is because several vowels will use a consonant glide sound to help in the linking process. Now, introduced in our previous video series, Intro to Speaking and Pronunciation, the 5 long vowels will use a consonant glide sound to help in producing their final positions. So the vowels A, E, I, and the diphthong oi will use that y sound as their glide. Again, notice they all share the I or E sound at the end. While the O, oo, and the diphthong ow will use the w as their glide. And again, part of it has to do with the formation. But now let's take a look and see how these glides work. Listen to how they link together. See over. See over. So notice the Y glide here will help connect the E to the O in the next word. This one, of course, even though we don't hear the Y will appear as a glide when we connect these two words. Payerly. Payerly. Too easy. Now notice we're using the W as our glide. Too easy. Finally, how interesting. How interesting. So again, we're using a consonant glide sound to help connect one vowel to the next one. Pronunciation tip. Linking is considered to be a more informal aspect of pronunciation, but most English speakers will link as often as possible. I also want to share an important note. Please remember that many of the examples discussed in this video should be thought of as speaking ideas only. It is not appropriate to write these ideas down as they sound. So we are focusing only on the pronunciation of these ideas. These are not considered to be acceptable written forms. Part 3. Blending. Blending, often called geminates from the word Gemini, is similar to linking in that 2 or more words will come together to sound like one word. However, blending involves connecting the same or similar sounds together. There are 2 kinds of blending: consonant-consonant and vowel and consonant. Notice how the blending will occur here, with the similar sounds used at the end of the first word and the same or similar at the beginning of the next word. Now, in some of these examples, we can stretch these sounds to help make the connection. So you will notice, especially on some of the words on the left, we can stretch these blends between the 2 words. On the words on the right, you will notice how we will often hold on to the previous consonant and then finish the sound at the beginning of the next word. And this is especially true for some of those sounds such as ch and j. Let's take a look at our examples. Straight. Straight. So notice how the R sounds will blend into each other. Miss Steve. Miss Steve. With that. With that. Now, in the examples on the right, again, notice how we kind of hold the sound before we finish it on the next word. Beach chair. Beach chair. Orange juice. Orange juice. Real life. Real life. With vowel-consonant blending, again, we will use those glide sounds to help connect the words. So again, think about the glides we discussed in the earlier part of the video. These will help in connecting to that sound at the beginning of the next word. So now let's try them. Say you. Say you. How weird. How weird. Too well. Too well. Part 4. Extreme reductions. As mentioned in the previous video, a reduction is when a word or a group of words is actually shortened in length, usually by eliminating letters in addition to substituting shortened sounds. Some examples include and, which becomes n in some cases, and have, which becomes of. Extreme reductions involve groups of words or chunks that occur quite frequently together in English. Along with reduced sounds and missing letters, extreme reductions also use linking and blending in their formation. Now note, many of these examples will sound quite different from how they are spelled. So looking at the examples on the left, these are the original forms, and on the right, these are the reduced forms that we use in pronunciation. Now please remember that these are only used in pronunciation, not in actual writing. But let's try them. Going to becomes gonna. Have to becomes hafta. Want to becomes wanna. Got to, gotta. Ought to, oughta. What do you, this particular group of words, becomes what'da ya. And then the should, would, and could words, all using should have, would have, could have, reduced to shoulda, woulda, and coulda. Now let's look at some example sentences using these extreme reductions. For example, in the first sentence, even though we write, what do you think, many people will pronounce it as, what do you think? What do you think? He's got to work tomorrow will become, he's gotta work tomorrow. He's gotta work tomorrow. Do we have to clean up the kitchen? This will become, do we have to clean up the kitchen? Do we have to clean up the kitchen? And finally, I want to tell you something will become, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. As mentioned in the previous video, we talked a little bit about disappearing H. Now, disappearing H will occur when the following unstressed structure words, he, his, him, her, and have. When linked to a word with a final consonant or a vowel using a consonant glide, the H will disappear in order to facilitate a smoother connection between these two words. So again, notice you will create, linked situations here. Give him will become give him. So for example, give him a hand. Send her will become send her. Send her the money. It's his will become it's his. It's his bad luck. And finally, I'll see her tomorrow will become I'll see her tomorrow. Part 5. Elisions, assimilation, and coarticulation. Rhythm meets meaning. So far, all of the ideas discussed in this video series show how important words and ideas will receive more emphasis than words of less importance. However, linking provides the crucial connection between word meaning and stress and unstress, and how notions of rhythm control everything in English. In fact, without the concept of linking, English would not sound like English. Linking helps to demonstrate that the overall goal of speaking in English is to create a more connected and fluid sense of speech, while also respecting the importance of meaning in what is said. Linking and blending, though, are not the only rhythmic features that help to maintain a sense of connection. There are other linking-like connections that can accomplish much the same kind of fluid expression. Elisions involve cutting a letter or letters, especially to facilitate a smoother connection between two or more words. This is different from linking or blending, however, in that the final sound of the first word is not connecting in any direct way to the initial sound of the following word. Elisions often occur with words that stop their final consonant sound, including the t and d sounds. Here are two examples. Again, notice how the final sound will basically disappear and help facilitate the two sounding somewhat together. Instead of diamond ring, we would say diamond ring. So notice the D is going to essentially be cut. Instead of kept going, the T will disappear, and now we say kept going. So again, in these two examples, the D and the T are typically sounds that we do not finish in English, or that we stop. So in this case, we probably will just cut the sounds to help facilitate the two words sounding very, very connected to each other. So remember, you will cut that final sound in bringing these two words together. Assimilation occurs when the final consonant sound and the initial consonant sound of the following word actually create a new sound to facilitate the connection. This occurs most frequently when the final consonant sound is a d or t sound, and the initial consonant of the following word is y. So for example, in won't you will notice that many times people will pronounce it as won'tcha. So in other words, the t and the y sound will kind of form the ch, that particular consonant sound that we learned in our intro series. Did you would become didja. What are you would become whatcha. So again, notice in all three examples, a new sound will emerge to basically help facilitate this particular connection. And part of it is because the y sound is a little bit difficult to say when preceded by a sound such as d or t. So in this case, we use the ch or j sound to help facilitate that connection. Co-articulation occurs when the final sound, often a consonant, though sometimes a vowel, and the initial sound, again often a consonant, of the following word take place in the same place in the mouth or overlap. So the term co-articulate basically means that the action is occurring at the same time. This most commonly occurs with the d, and n and l sounds, which often, again, are stopped at the end of words and are thus difficult to hear. So notice how these sounds will kind of occur in the same place. Now the d and n sound and the l and n sounds all take place in the same positions in the mouth. All require taking your tongue and placing them directly behind the upper teeth on what is called the alveolar ridge. So try these sounds again. D, n. Notice how your tongue is positioned in the same location. Try l and n. And once again, you will see that they take place in the same position. So in the examples we have here on the screen, notice how, again, they will kind of sound like they're going to occur at the same time. Good night. Good night. So again, your tongue is helping to make the connection between the two. Let's try the next one. Bad luck. Bad luck. Part 6, review. As a rhythmic language, English will often follow the same stress patterns that are found between stressed and unstressed syllables in the connections between stressed and unstressed words. These patterns are facilitated by the concept of linking, in which multiple words are connected together to sound like one word with multiple syllables. Linked words can often sound exactly the same as shorter words with the same rhythmic pattern, as demonstrated earlier in the words minute and winnet. Blending is a similar concept to linking, in which similar vowel or consonant sounds from adjacent words blend together to form a group that sounds like one word with multiple syllables as well. For example, real life, real life. Extreme reductions occur when frequently chunked words are linked or blended together, in which sounds are also eliminated and others are reduced. These reductions often sound and appear very different from their original forms. So for example, gonna for going to, and shoulda for should have. Other linking-like connections can occur in English as well, including elisions, in which we cut letters to facilitate a connection, assimilation, in which we create new sounds to help connect words, and coarticulation, in which sounds occur in the same place in the mouth. All of the connections discussed in this video help to illustrate something very important. The overall goal of speaking in English is to promote fluid rhythmic speech, while also respecting the importance of meaning in what is being said. In the final video of this series, we will wrap up looking at the ideas called thought groups, and then revisiting a concept of focus, but then demonstrating how English speakers can change the focus word or words to affect the overall intention of the sentence. Once again, we want to direct you to our helpful websites on our Kenton ESL main page, Speaking and Pronunciation and Vocabulary Development. We will see you next time for the final video, Video 7, Thought Groups and Additional Focus.